I mean, probably not. I've seen crazier things, but
Dallas just beat Tampa a couple weeks ago.
I know, but I think Atlanta was their best chance to keep the 6th seed. So,
well, Atlanta's got tiebreakers over Tampa too, so there's that. So we are live now, just so you three are aware. But we're talking about some of the Packers playoff stuff and some of the scenarios as they're getting closer to the playoffs. The other thing we were talking about was people dogging Christian Watson for being injured. And I'm looking at his snap counts. He played 9 snaps against the Vikings in week 4, and that was when he got hurt. And then he missed week 5. Other than that, he's played every single game up to week 17 when he sat out against Minnesota.
Yeah. And so he had a concussion against the Vikings.
2.5 games.
His leg got rolled up on because Love threw a bad pass.
Yeah, that was when his ankle got hit. Yeah. So that's all that Christian Watson's had. He hasn't had any hamstring injuries this entire season, which is what was nagging him previously. So his injuries have just been football related this year. So I have no ill will towards Watson's injuries at all.
No soft tissue injuries is good.
Exactly. Yeah. No soft tissue issues. All righty. Well, welcome back to Wisco Fanatics. We're back on Tuesday night now that we had the Christmas week last week, but we were recapping the Vikings game in Minnesota, and then we are previewing the final regular season matchup against the Bears. So we're going to start with the recap, get it over with, and we'll get through it.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucs, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so like I said, we are starting with the Packers and Vikings recap. Just all take a couple deep breaths. It's not as serious as some people are freaking out that it is. We'll talk about some of the nuanced parts of it, but let's just start on defensive side of the ball with the defensive scheme.
That's you, Simon.
Yeah, my bad. I was sniffling and stuff. I'm a little sick, so I didn't want to 100% sniffle.
I've seen your search history. You're more than a little sick.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. We're not gonna flash that on the screen. So we kind of we talked about it last week at how bad. This is really the only stat I have is Darnold was so good against attack in the middle of the field. This is something that we talked about this Packers struggling with, and this might have been the worst game of the year for them. Darnold completed 23 of 27 passes between the numbers for 289 yards and 2 touchdowns. He just absolutely wrecked the middle of the field. And as much as we raved about Cooper being a good player, he was part of the problem this last week too. I'm sure Brian's going to talk about it a little bit too, but it was not a recipe for success on what the Packers did this week. Sorry, the Red Wings just scored.
Can I be bold as to say that we need Quay Walker on the field?
I think that's part of the issue too. I'm
not saying that
the players that we missed this week.
By the way,
no. That'd be absurd. Because Cooper, as much as he was below average in coverage, he played a hell of a game outside of that. But I think the part of the issue is we missed a lot of important players, as we're talking about Christian Watson too. I think he was sorely missed, and stretching the field and forcing the Vikings DBs to play back farther, because we hit a lot in the quick pass game. Sorry, I'm getting super ahead of myself where we're talking about, but Jeff Hafley's scheme was just, it wasn't it this week.
So,
Brad asked, do you want to say something on Hafley or the question?
The Hafley first.
Okay.
So, I just want to give this is Tyler. I talked to you about this earlier. This hurts to say, but I just want to give credit to Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, because the Packers play a lot of zone defense. And in my opinion, when I was watching that game, they did a really nice job either starting in the bunch. They were doing it on the right, on the left. They were motioning into the bunch. And the bunch set is really hard to guard in man, and it's also really hard to guard in zone. Because zone basically is just matching man, right? So if a guy runs in your zone, you match up and you stay with him. Well, it's harder to do, especially as a rookie. You get confused when all three guys are coming at you and one turns left and one goes straight. So I thought the Vikings did a really nice job seeing that the Packers run so much zone. The Packers are really thin at corner and at safety right now. They're kind of thin at linebacker too. They don't really have many options for guys that they trust to put in the middle of the field. So the Vikings did a nice job of exploiting the zone defense by going into a bunch set, and it worked for them all game. And that's where they really attacked the middle of the field. I mean, they tried to get Justin Jefferson the ball right away in the third quarter. They motioned him from right to left to go into a bunch set, and they ran him on a drag underneath. That's tough to guard. He runs so many routes, and then you go into that set. It's just hard to guard, and they did a good job of that.
So 2 questions in the comments. Brad asks, is not having a number 1 receiver sustainable? We've seen all of these guys perform like number 1 wide receivers. It's just they need to perform when the ball is thrown to them. Drops have been a big issue this season as far as the receivers are concerned. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Packers were going to target, some type of quote unquote number 1 wide receiver guy. But I don't think it's an issue that like they need to draft a first round wide receiver or throw, all of the money bags at T. Higgins or anything like that. Todd said Hafley's scheme has been an issue for most of the season, not adjusting. That I just don't agree with.
I was gonna. So here's the thing with Jeff Hafley's scheme is like the problem right now is like we just don't. In my opinion, we don't have the players that fit his scheme like how he wants to play. Secondary is a little beat up, so it's like hard to blitz players when your secondary isn't that good. And Donald actually he did really well versus the getting quick passes off too. I think he completed like 9 out of 10 or something insane like that under 2.5 seconds. And secondly, if you want him to blitz players more, that means taking another player out of the middle of the field and exposing that weakness a little bit more. So that's like kind of where the problem is.
I'm going to talk about it too when we get to the defensive line about some of the players not available. But just looking at the Packers, they gave up obviously 372 passing yards this week. That dropped them down to 17th in the NFL, giving up 219 passing yards a game. So that's passing. The Packers are currently 6th in opponent rushing yards per game and currently 6th in opponent points per game. And one of the things that I'll just throw out there right now while we're on the subject talking about points is, yes, the Packers are 0-5 against winning teams. They have lost those 5 games by a combined 22 points. They've lost 5 games by a total of 22 points. Yeah, My biggest point on this, too, is that also means that the Packers are 11-0 against teams that they should beat. They didn't have any games like last season where they lost to the Raiders or the Steelers game or the Broncos game, all games the games that you should, even Atlanta last year, like games that you think the Packers should win, but they've lost. They haven't had any games like that this year. Not one.
Yeah, my concern with that is in those 5 games, they're averaging 30 points a game against us, and then it would continue just to get killed in the middle of the field each of those games, pretty much, if you look at them.
Okay, but remember,
and I've talked about it going in several times, and I get we might not have the players, but at that point, like, try something. Like, I'll get into it when I'm talking about linebackers, but for me, for Eric Wilson to play the most snaps, 72 snaps this game, it was why? Why can't we try Oladapo, or why can't we try Hopper? Like, what are we hurting at this point?
Hopper got hurt.
I guess I didn't see that.
Yeah, he got hurt.
But anybody, it's like Wilson, yeah, he made some nice plays early on when he had a very small, minute role. Right now, 72 snaps is not what we need from him. It's just not good.
I mean, the only issue I have is, like, with not trying new things is we're at week 17. If
so
it
we
was
just
week
accept
7,
that we're going to suck in the middle of the field?
It might, it sucks to say, but we might just have to accept that. At week 18 of the season, we really don't have a lot of things that we can change drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've done a good job of not getting, like, beat deep. That was the first, like, 30-yard touchdown we gave up all season or whatever.
Yeah.
I do feel like the safeties could creep up a little bit. A lot of times you see them, they're falling back. They're starting at the 10, 12-yard line and dropping back, and then you're getting killed in the middle of the field. Maybe just creep them up even a little bit and make them beat us over our head.
See, and that's what I think happened on the Naylor touchdown was McKinney was cheating up on Jefferson, and then that's fucking sucks to say it, but that's credit to Kevin O'Connell for drawing that up, for knowing that if the safety is going to step up at Jefferson, that Naylor is going to be open over the top.
That's just Jefferson being the best player in the game.
It's gravity.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, I know this isn't a lovely conversation to have, but how did you feel about the pass rush?
We had a pass rush. It was pretty much non-existent for most of the game. Again, I'm going to have to give credit to somebody on the Vikings. We couldn't get pressure before, couldn't get pressure on blitzing. We had one sack. It was Carl Brooks, coverage sack. I thought the DBs actually held up pretty well for the most part outside of the short game. By the way, I don't know if one of us called that the short game was going to be a problem. It might have been me. That was me. It was me.
I talked about that too.
Quarterback hits. We had 3 of them. Cox, Nixon, and Mosby. We had 16 hurries. I'm not going to name all the players. It was a pretty good list, but it didn't matter because they were stepping up. They were doing a good job, and they were trusting Aaron Jones. And we know how good Aaron Jones is at picking up blitzers. We saw it all game versus Dallas last year in the wild card round. He was picking up people like Micah Parsons. I mean, one of the most feared pass rushers in the NFL. And Aaron Jones did an outstanding job in this game, picking up our blitzes, understanding our stunts, and the offensive line held up for the Vikings. And that's just the name of the game. They won the line of scrimmage on that side of the ball, and you're going to give up a lot of yards that way. So pass rush, not great.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think Darnold just did a better job than most QBs would have getting pressured. We still ended up with pressuring him on 14 of those passes. Granted, he passed 40. He went back for 44 attempts, so like percentage wise, it's not great. But we ended up with some pressure on him. It's just he also performed great, and I think that's a credit to the Vikings receivers. They have one of the best receiving cores as a whole and pass catchers in the league, from Addison, Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, they have a lot of weapons. There's no doubt.
They just have a lot of weapons. And Sam Darnold, I don't know what he did. He maybe touched God or something, but he looks good this year.
Yeah, he looks really good. Kevin O'Connell is a really good coach.
Kevin
He's done a really good job with him.
Brad said after listening, a number 1 wide receiver is needed to keep drives going and helping out the defense. Again, it's guys just got to execute. And Todd said Love needs to play better. That goes into the execution as well.
Yep.
And we'll talk about some of the coaching stuff later. But execution just needs to be there. And these guys are capable. But one of the things we were talking about before the show too is that this team, at times, they show that they are the youngest team in the NFL. They are easily one of the most talented teams in the NFL, but they also show at times that they are some of the youngest.
They gotta learn how to win, man. That's just
Connor, happy New Year's to you as well. Going into the D line, losing Devontae Wyatt hurts. I said last week, healthy Wyatt, happy life. Lost Devontae Wyatt at halftime. The Vikings had 13 points in the first half and scored 14 points in their first 3 drives of the second half. They essentially doubled their points in 3 possessions that they scored in the entire first half. Also, Devontae Wyatt was the Packers' best graded defender. Losing Devontae Wyatt, I said this last week, he not only does things himself that are really great, like stopping the run, and he's a good pass rusher on his own, but he opens things up for other people. We saw it against the Saints. We saw what a healthy Devontae Wyatt can contribute to the defensive line. So losing him, it sucks. It sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. If we don't have Devontae Wyatt in the playoffs for some reason, my belief level goes down. Just to illustrate the importance of Devontae Wyatt. Todd said Kevin O'Connell is coach of the year. He's probably should be the front runner when you look at the preseason expectations for the Vikings.
There's a lot of good candidates this year, to be honest with you.
I would still vote Dan Campbell as much as I don't like the guy, but he losing all that stuff on defense, bro. It's hard to keep that team afloat and believing. That's all I'm saying.
They still have a lot of really good players.
They're playing guys off.
Taking a quarterback that won 13 games in 30 or 40 starts in New York, and now he has 14 wins with them or whatever in Minnesota.
And like I said,
to me is the better coach.
For me, the preseason expectations versus the actual, like the Lions were expected to win 13 to 15 games.
Yeah. I'll say this, though.
The Vikings were expected to win like 6 to 10.
I think it pretty much comes down to the Sunday Night Football game. If Kevin O'Connell goes in Detroit and beats Dan Campbell and they take the number 1 seed, unless people have already cast their vote.
Yeah, I would have locked him. I'd lock him in.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Justin said we're so close to being an all-around great team. We just need a couple pieces. Honestly, just getting some of the pieces we have healthy would be a big deal. I'm sure Detroit feels the same way, but the Packers are a little bit less draft-heavy built. But yeah, Todd said Kevin O'Connell has made Darnold a good QB. That might be enough reason right there.
$45 million a year now.
I think Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson made Darnold a good quarterback. Look at what happened to Kirk Cousins when he lost him. He got benched for a rookie quarterback. Just saying.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is, we can talk about this in a little bit too, but people saying Jordan Love is a waste of money, like Kirk Cousins is what a waste of money looks like. Jordan Love is fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
All right, Brian, let's go into the linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much is to blame on the linebackers for the middle of the field with all that goes into zone, but it's just like you watch the playback, and it's like they stand there and they look at the guy 4 or 5 yards away from him and just stare at him, wait for the ball to get thrown to him, and then they go and try to tackle him. It's like, get closer to the guy, make the throw hard. Cooper had a great game in the running game. I mean, 4 tackles for loss is phenomenal. He flies off the screen. He's going to be great.
Yep.
He's going to be really good, but he did give up 7 for 7 for 90 yards and a touchdown in coverage against him. Isaiah, I guess, didn't get targeted at all because he only had 20-something snaps. But Eric Wilson, who for whatever reason had 72 snaps, was also 5 for 6 against 60-something yards again. So linebackers were really rough in that middle of the field again. And I talked about it last week on the show. I talked about it when we played Detroit. I talked about it when we played I can't remember the other team, but another team that's like, we can't let them kill us in the middle of the field because it's too easy. And what do we continually do? We give them the easy.
Was it Miami?
Miami just kind of wrote the blueprint, I think.
But like Detroit, they're just going to kill us all game long if we play them in the playoffs with Amon-Ra St. Brown in the middle of the field, unless we figure something out. And that's what I was saying. Maybe we just sneak the safeties up and make them beat us downfield, which they might. But I like the higher difficulty throw downfield than the 9% completion, right? And going for 8 to 10 yards a pop.
Yeah.
But linebacker is a serious weakness on this team. I think we have 1.5. I would quote it as that. Quay Walker has shown a lot. I want to see more from him. I'm really hoping he's healthy, at least going into the playoffs. I don't think even if he practices this week, I don't think you play him. I think you give him another week.
Sure.
But I do think that linebacker should be another top 3 pick in this next year's draft, and try to score another player like Edgerrin Cooper. Or Goody has struggled in the first round the last 3-4 years, but he has been very good at free agency. So if there's a linebacker we think is going to fill our need, and Jeff Hafley's like, that's the guy I need to fill this, go get him in free agency then.
I like that.
That's where I'm at with this. But we have what we have for the rest of the year. I don't know what Tyron Hopper can do. I don't know what they've seen from him in practice. We don't have that knowledge, right? And unfortunately he got hurt. I didn't catch that. Hopefully it's not serious, but we definitely got to do something. Eric Wilson was really nice in the beginning of the year when he was, and I know I was calling for more snaps for him, but now I think we've hit the threshold where it's too many snaps. And we can put him in a role to succeed, but I think we probably had to put him in a position we didn't want to put him in, especially when you lose Zane Anderson right away, and then Buller's having to go back to safety, and then he's not in slot, and then you're moving pieces right away, and it just turned bad quickly. So overall, it just wasn't a good game by the linebackers. Still very excited about Edge Cooper, but the coverage is bad.
Yeah, last time seeing on Tyron Hopper, he was active, but and then was game day inactive.
Okay.
So he was practicing and then game day inactive. But so looking at it,
inactive then, so maybe it was an injury.
Yeah, I think it happened in the Saints game.
Because I see the only thing that's questionable for us is like right now is like Jair, Dillard, Quay, Christian, and Evan Williams.
Yeah, I think it happened in the Saints game that he got hurt, like in the later parts of that game. But this is I was actually talking to somebody about this today. If as far as Quay Walker is concerned, you don't have to say Cooper is better than Quay. Like, we get that. But you also don't have to use Edgerrin Cooper as like, oh my God, Quay sucks. Look at everything Cooper can do. Because bottom line, our two best linebackers are Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker.
Yeah.
The 4 to 5 games before Quay Walker's injury were the 4 or 5 best games of his career. So, this is a kind of middle of the season where, this is the middle of his third season, that if this is the Quay Walker we'll get going forward, I'm absolutely willing to keep him and start him next to Edgerrin Cooper next season. Justin asks, who's a soon-to-be free agent linebacker who comes to mind you'd like to see the Packers go after? I don't know if you guys have anybody at the top of your head, but
Dre Greenlaw,
be an off-season.
Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
Nick Bolton's about to get paid by the Chiefs.
But Dre Greenlaw.
I would love Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah. So, and San Francisco has to pay Purdy. I don't know that they're going to be able to pay Greenlaw.
I don't know if they're going to pay Purdy.
Oh, they're paying.
They're going to pay Purdy.
They're paying Purdy.
Zach Bond of Philly.
He's not a free agent. I don't think.
PFF says I just searched top 20 free agents, top 10 free agents at every position, and Zach Bond.
Really, I feel like he was drafted like last year.
I know.
Zach Bond?
Yeah.
No, he's.
I don't know if you remember week 1 where he literally.
Really? Oh, I remember looking at his draft profile.
Yeah, he used to be a Badger, and then he went to the Saints, and then he's in Philly.
He got drafted in 2020, my guy.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, by the way, or Simon, at midnight, it turns 2025, just so you're aware.
Well, I still have a few more hours.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Justin said he was thinking Greenlaw himself. Okay. The wide receivers thing as far as
Bond has been playing really well.
It's not like Atlanta doesn't have good wide receivers. They have Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And as weird as it is to say, Darnell Mooney has played pretty well this year.
And what's the other dude's name? Ray McLeod's been playing decent for him as well.
So it's not like
weapons over there in Atlanta, dude.
Yeah, it's not Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and T.J. Hawkinson, but you have 2 top 10 picks on your offense,
and they have a good running back.
And Bijan Robinson. You have 3 top 10 pick skill position players.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what that is. Jake, 3rd and 4th down defense.
3rd and 4th down defense. So we allowed them to go 6 for 12. It's frustrating. 3 for 4 in the 3rd and short area. 2 for 4 in the 4 through 7. That's the 3rd medium area, I like to call it. I watched the 3rd medium and 3rd and long. That's really the one where you want to put teams in the position to not succeed. They got half of their conversions in that area. They went 1 for 4 in 3rd and long, so that was a good thing. We put them in 4 opportunities in 3rd and longs, and we stopped them on 3 of them. So just gotta continue to put them in down and distance situations that are favorable for you. But that requires you to win 1st and 2nd down, which Packers didn't do too often, in my opinion.
All right. Simon, how'd you feel about the secondary?
Yeah, I'm not going to crap on them too hard, but they struggled pretty bad. The secondary as a whole allowed 20 for 25 for 214 yards. And I don't know what their plan is with Javon Bullard, but whatever it was during this game was not it. He got picked on really badly, and he looked like not it. That Addison touchdown, I don't know. It's just like cement was attached to his feet, and he just let him run by him.
That was an elite route.
Yeah, no. I'm not like saying Addison played it well.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're saying that, but that was an elite route by Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
That was a crazy.
Moore did say after the game that the plan was for him to play slot, and he got pushed back to safety. And think about it, the young player coming off injury. But yeah, you're right, Simon. They need to have a better plan for him.
I think Minnesota was looking at it as like, oh, they have a rookie who's being moved all over the field. That's probably not prepared to be moving all over the field. Let's target him.
Yeah, Nixon didn't play well either. Honestly, like nobody in the secondary. Maybe unless you want to say Stokes was only targeted twice and he allowed 1 reception for 4 yards. I mean, I don't know if that's a product of everyone else just being bad or not, or if Stokes was good, but yeah, it was just overall not. They struggled pretty badly this week.
I think people are being a little harsh on Eric Stokes. You brought it
They
up.
are. They saw a couple plays early in the season where he got caught not playing well, and I think it's kind of people just use that as their mantra for the rest of the season.
You brought up since
Stokes hasn't
been the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, Stokes has been okay.
Last week you brought up good. Since week 11. If you look at his numbers since week 11, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, Stokes has been good. He's been playing good for us.
Good since week 11.
But I will say I didn't go look at Stokes specifically during this game. So that's something I could do and maybe make a more formulated opinion.
1 for 2 for 4 yards, a 56.3 rating. Like I'd have absolutely no complaints. 2 yards after catch. I mean,
yeah, it's what I'm saying is like I didn't watch him close enough to where they didn't throw at him because the receivers weren't open, or is it because everyone else was open too much? You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yep. All right. Anything else you wanted to say on the secondary, or?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Brad, a lot of it is a product of Jefferson, and with the secondary being thin already, and then knowing that you have to designate extra guys to help cover Jefferson, it just essentially gives you less people to cover everybody else on top of also playing guys, a level or two higher than you normally would want to. Okay. Jake, how did the red zone defense look?
I mean, not bad in my opinion, but so their first trip was on their 4th drive. They had a 16-yard run from Akers to get to the 10-yard line. First and 10 at the 10, Darnold was incomplete. 2nd and goal, Darnold to Addison for 3 yards. And then 3rd and goal at 17, Darnold incomplete. They settled for a field goal. So good stop on their first red zone trip. Their second red zone trip was one play. They got to the 18-yard line and then threw a touchdown to Jordan Addison, as we talked about before. Their third red zone trip, 1st and 10 at the 20. Jones ran for 13 yards. He got out on the outside there. And then 1st and goal at the 7. Jones got stopped for -2 yards. And then the little pass over to Cam Akers, which was embarrassing to watch. He scampers in pretty much untouched for a touchdown. So at that point, they were 2 for 3. Their last attempt in the red zone was really them just trying to run the ball and, run the clock out because they were kind of in milk the clock mode. They got into the red zone. They got to the 19-yard line. They ran 2 more plays after that, both for negative yards, got pushed back to the 25-yard line, settled for a field goal, and they missed it. Kicker should have been 0 for 3, but with the crappy offsides call, he got a redo on the 55-yarder for a 50-yarder, and he ended up making it, obviously. I don't know why people aren't talking about that more, and they're just talking about how he should have kicked the field goal, but they don't want to talk about how they gave the Vikings 3 free points, but teach their own. 2 for 4, not bad.
Yeah, that's some contextual stuff there. Todd said not going to get Jefferson or Addison type wide receivers, and you don't draft wide receivers in the first round. Puka Nacua was a 5th-round pick.
Bro, not every wide receiver drafted in the first round is Jefferson.
That's not true, because then you get Jalen Reagor. Stuff happens.
Yep.
Like, that's not just because you don't.
Remember Kevin White?
I'm not gonna get fired up over that.
There's nothing guaranteed with first-round picks, and honestly, I'm going to look at this in the offseason just because people want to criticize Gutekunst so much in the first round. Like, it could easily be worse. Like, in the last 5 years that people want to complain about his first-round picks, there's a shit ton of first-round picks that aren't even in the league anymore.
Well, you can
look guys that are average or guys that you don't want on the field.
Well, you can look at like the peaks of their power. Who's better, Devontae Adams or Jordan Addison right now? Devontae Adams. And if Addison ever gets better than Devontae, which is a very slim possibility, we got Devontae in the second round. We got Jordy Nelson in the second round. We got, you know what I mean? Like,
Randall Cobb
I get it, but it's just because it's the first round doesn't mean it's guaranteed. Look, Lucas Van Ness. Nothing's guaranteed. Lucas Van Ness hasn't been impressive. Jordan Morgan got hurt. that's why I said Gutekunst has kind of hurt us in the first round the last few years. Those guys haven't given up on them, but they haven't developed as quick as you're hoping, right? Quay Walker is fine, but probably not a first round pick, so nothing's guaranteed in the first round.
Right.
If everyone knew Jefferson was going to be Jefferson, he would have went number 1 overall in the draft.
Right.
You could say that about every draft, dude.
Yeah.
If everybody knew Aaron Donald was going to be Aaron Donald, he would have been number 1 pick in that draft too. He wasn't number 1.
Yeah. Also, everyone talking about we need number 1. Go look at who's going to be free agents this year. It's T. Higgins, and then the next 8 or 9 that PFF has listed, me personally would want no part of. The next one on the list, Chris Godwin, who has had 2 devastating injuries, and then you got Amari, who's old. You got Stephon Diggs, who's old and injured. DeAndre Hopkins, old. Deontay Johnson, head case.
Good save, dude.
I would have said head case when I talked about Stephon Diggs, but that's just me.
Well, that too.
Yeah, that dude will never be.
You stay away from my team.
Yeah. So and I'll talk about it when I get to wide receivers. One thing that I think we need to stop doing, but I'll wait for that.
Yeah.
I will say though, I was right about Brian Thomas Jr. He's been a fucking monster this year.
He's a stud.
All right, I'm with it. Brian, special teams.
I mean, they did fine when they got the opportunity. Nothing glaring. I did on the last drive of the game because our coverage had been really good. I was hoping actually that they would kick it short and make the Vikings return it. It didn't really matter. They needed the first down or whatever, but I was just thinking, okay, well, don't give them the 30-yard line. If we can get them at the 20-25 and we stop them, it's shorter distance we have to go. That's kind of where my head was at during the kick or whatever. But overall, they did their job. I mean, nothing super overly impressive, nothing bad. Good kick by McManus when he had the opportunity. I do think that we should have taken the points there, and we can talk about that when we go to coaching because me and you had a pretty good debate back and forth about it.
Yep.
So, overall, I thought special teams didn't cost us this game at all. Unless you want to say they were offsides, which they were absolutely not offsides.
Yeah.
And if they were offsides, then the right guard next to the center was offsides.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. His helmet was lined above the center's helmet for sure. All right, let's go to the coaching. The main thing here is the fourth down call. Now, we had this debate, Brian. My biggest thing is that it's not a bad decision because the play was not executed.
And
it
I
was
agree
a good
with you.
decision and a good play call, in my opinion, and it's a play that should have worked.
Yeah.
It's the execution that didn't make that. And I just want to say, for the hindsight of it, of saying, well, it didn't work, you should have taken the points. If it worked, is there anybody complaining about the call?
No, probably not. But so what the point was I was making too is you're right. That play needs to be made. Jaden Reed has to catch that football.
Yes.
However, once you go for it, I don't know the NFL. I didn't look up the stats, but I bet that conversion from that distance is probably like 50-60% in the NFL. The distance of that kick conversion rate is probably 85 to 90%. So for me, when you're in that position and you need to score the points, if you kick the field goal there and make it 6-7, you keep it a 1-score game, unless for whatever reason Minnesota scores a touchdown and decides to go for 2 and then make it a 9-point game. You're keeping an 8-point game in that position. Also, obviously hindsight is 2020, like you mentioned, but what happens is they end up going on a 20-0 run, so we could have at least stopped that bleeding a little bit. It obviously looms large at the end of the game, just like Jake said. The other one should loom large that people aren't talking about. It was definitely not offsides. I don't understand how they made that call. I've seen some idiots arguing, well, the line of scrimmage is where the ball was originally set just because the center moved it backwards. Like, no, that's not. No, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to move it half a yard, and then we're still going to get called offsides because
if that's what the case was, then every center would stand as far away as they can reach the ball. And then grab the ball and then bring it here so that there's another yard that you can't move.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so stupid.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard.
But for me, like, you just introduce the risk of you missing it and then not coming away with points in a very critical game. For me, it's just like Matt LaFleur's a little bit in his head in these games, and he's just thinking too much a little bit. He's not letting it play loose, and I feel like he's really – they're trying to prove something instead of just playing. And I feel like there's other games where he took the points there and it ended up being the right decision. For me,
we're also talking about teams though that are not with a better record.
Yes, but when you're playing a team that you need, and I said this coming in with special teams, every single point is going to matter. So when you start leaving them on the table, one thing I've seen about this team, and it's kind of been the last couple of years, and it probably has to do with them young, when there's like an early thing that throws them off their kind of their groove, which was the Josh Jacobs fumble this time. It's like they're really struggling with the resiliency or the ability to bounce back right away. And it really slows them down. It's like it freezes them, and they're having a hard time having that ability to bounce back now. And that's what I'm saying that. So taking those points in my opinion, it would have been huge in that position because you're one, keeping a 1-score game, 2, you're producing points, So that's where I'm at. You're 100% right that the call was good, and Jordan Love did a very good job on that play, looking at Romeo Doubs, seeing he wasn't open, going to his second read, hitting reads. Yeah, he had to dive a tiny bit. That's a catch.
Ball hit him in the hands with no contest on it.
You have to make that catch.
Yeah.
So Jordan Love.
It was a catchable ball for sure.
Yeah, Jordan Love
credited with a drop.
Matt LaFleur made a good call, but the play call. However, in my opinion, you introduce that risk of not making it and taking points off the board by going for it. Because I don't think McManus is missing a 40-yard field goal in a dome.
No.
Not the way he's been kicking.
Even if you call it, say, 95% success rate versus a 4th and 2 success rate, you're talking like a 50% chance of difference in conversion for a over 200% gain in points.
Sure.
My thing here is when, again, we're talking about you have to get points on the road against better teams, is I would argue that you have to be more aggressive in that situation. And my reasoning is that, yes, you're taking 3 points. It's 3 points. The Packers lost by 2. If they have 3 more points, they win automatically, right? First of all, it's not how it works. It's the second quarter. You can't guarantee that everything else plays out the exact same.
Yep.
The Vikings left 6 points on the board on missed field goals too, and were gifted 3 by the officiating.
Okay, then I ask you why go for
still even -3. So 3 points doesn't necessarily benefit you. Doesn't automatically guarantee you this win. So I just want to throw that out there.
Why go for it there though, but not go for it on the 3-yard line, which I know what you're going to say. It's more condensed down there. However, if we don't get that, then Minnesota's way backed up instead of giving the ball back to the 20.
I would have been fine with going for it there too. I would have been fine with that too.
That's where I'm saying he gets in his head a little bit. Then if he's going to go for that and he knows he's coming in and he's going to be aggressive, then do it every time.
The other part of it is it was 0-0 at that point. So my thing is when you don't take that points to go down 6-7, you are choosing to play from behind anyways.
That's fair. That's a good point, actually. I didn't even think about it.
So if I say that the Packers are choosing to play from behind if they take the points and go down 6-7 and then give the ball back, and a touchdown in 2-point conversion if they want to go for it, puts you down 15-6, which is 2 possessions anyways.
It's fair.
Choosing to play from behind is something that I don't want to do. People laud Dan Campbell for his aggressiveness.
They rip him apart for it too.
But that's like the give and take of it too.
Yeah.
But every time it works, it's coach of the year. It should have worked.
If they lose in the playoffs for something stupid like they did last year.
Right, but it's also the Packers are going for it just outside their own red zone, not just inside their opponent's 30-yard line.
True.
But my thing is choosing to play from behind versus being aggressive to try to give your defense a lead. How many times are we talking about, the defense not getting stops and stuff like that? Let them play with a fucking lead once.
They did. They were up 3-0.
They were up 3-0, and that was it. So I'm okay with being aggressive, especially on the road, especially against a good team.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Start with tight ends.
It was overall another Tucker Kraft game. Basically, he had 2 receptions for 53 yards. 32 yards came after the catch, and he ended up playing 53 snaps. Musgrave caught. It looked like they ramped him up a little bit more this week. He had 12 snaps. He had 1 catch for 4 yards. And then Fitzpatrick and Sims played a total of 5 snaps between the both of them. Pretty inconsequential.
All right. Brad said, is Campbell really a good coach?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
He's got good coordinators, but he's a good coach.
He's a very good leader because he stands behind his team. And the biggest thing about leading is you're motivating your team to get out there. And he motivates them by he's going to stand up and take the blame for anything stupid. He's not going to throw players on the bus. He's a very good leader. Whether
he's going to let him play dirty as fuck, too.
Ben Johnson's going to be a head coach, and Aaron Glenn might be a head coach. I've heard a lot of rumors that the Saints are very interested in Aaron Glenn. Justin said Dan Campbell doesn't have the youngest team in the league. He's got vets. We have to remember how young our team is. Just saying they're more likely to make mistakes. I mean, you have to still give them the opportunities, though.
He does have young players. Brian Branch, Terrion Arnold. A lot of injuries.
I mean, Jameson Williams is only 2 years into the league, too. But, I mean,
you
still have to give your young guys a chance to succeed in those situations. Otherwise, 5 years down the road, they're going to have no experience going for a 4th and 2 at their 25-yard line.
Yep.
So I mean,
or kicking an onside kick with 12 minutes left in the quarter.
Yeah, they're still yes, they are young, and it shows up at times where it kind of sucks that it shows up. But I mean, you still have to give them chances to make plays. Like as young as they are, Jaden Reed and Jordan Love, immensely talented. Okay, Bryant, wide receivers.
Yeah, just too many drops and mistakes again. You know, even Dobbs had like a drop or wasn't, just seemed a little off a little bit. A couple throws that Jordan Love needs to make better, but overall just not a strong game from the wide receivers. The one thing I want to talk about is I get that Jaden Reed is very good. Like they're using him to see what the defense is doing, but too many times am I seeing him just go and run around in circles in the backfield while the play is happening in front of him, and he's not really in the play at all. He's a very talented guy. Yes, he dropped that pass. We need him running some damn routes. Like, we don't need him running in circles, doing this loop-de-loop and pull crap in the backfield all the time. Do it a couple times a game, fine. But there's, like, on third downs, he's running back there. He's basically removed from the play. Maybe you can say he's taken away from one of the defenders, but on a 3rd and 7, are they really that concerned if they just drop it back to Jaden Reed right there? No. Have him run some damn routes down the field. Like, use him in motions, use him in jet sweeps and all that stuff. But this crap where he goes and runs around Jordan Love 5, 6, 7, 8 times a game, and then he's not even part of the play is I'm kind of over it, to be honest. So it works sometimes. It does lead. It sets up some plays, but I feel like, especially when you're down Christian Watson, have Bo Melton do that. Have someone else do that. And have your better talented wide receiver running down the field.
So
yeah, but is that threatening if you're using like Bo Melton or Heath or someone?
I would say yes, because Bo Melton's pretty quick, but I would say at least
they don't have the gravity that Jaden Reed does.
Yeah.
Okay, but great. But he's not doing anything for us if he's just back there.
I would say the way that it works with Bo Melton is if you hand him the ball and he has a good run, then you can run something that with him.
Then you have to kind of set that up a little bit earlier.
But we've seen it with Jaden Reed, so that's why they use him in that situation where he can be a runner. So I mean, I kind of see both sides. I'm a little bit more on Brian's side on this. I think it just comes with time and when you run it in the game. But if you're using it to set up a play later in the game and then you get smacked in the mouth on a 20-0 run, why are you still running it? That doesn't make any sense to me as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Cody, I don't know if they run too many sweeps per game.
Do they even
run they do the orbital motion stuff, and I love when they have the Brooks blocking for Jacobs. As far as Jaden Reed, he was on the field for 27 passing snaps. He ran 24 routes.
Yeah, but are they calling that little loop and just a little trail off to the left or right a route? Probably. They're probably calling that a route. Jordan Love never looks at him.
I disagree because he gets a lot of those wide receiver screens.
Did we run any this game?
Yes.
How many wide receiver screens did we run?
I'd have to go look. I know there's at least one, or maybe it was a tight end screen.
They ran a tight end
screen for sure.
That might have been it.
But I mean, even as we go into the passing game distribution, and I'll jump in on this.
We just need to get the ball in Jaden Reed's hands when Christian Watson's not on the field. How about that?
Yeah, I agree. And the other part of it, as far as the passing game distribution goes, 7 different players were targeted, and Romeo Doubs had 10. He had 7 catches. Dontavian Wicks had 5 targets. I like that. He had 4 catches. Fine with that. Bo Melton had 4 targets, 3 receptions. My biggest issue in the game is 0 targets for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
That's my biggest issue in the passing game. Todd asked why Kraft wasn't involved more. I mean, he had 3 targets, 2 receptions, 53 yards.
He's probably trying to help block the whole line.
He's not going to be Travis Kelce levels of involved.
He probably should be.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed. As soon as you start giving Tucker Kraft 7 targets a game, then we're talking.
Okay,
why is Reed only being targeted twice a game? Why is Dobbs only being targeted twice a game? Why is Watson only being targeted twice a game?
I don't give a shit if Kraft is getting yards. He's had 53 yards and 2 catches. Throw the ball to people who are going to get the yards.
Yeah. And you got to figure out ways to utilize the gravity that other guys have as well to then get those guys open. And that's why I thought the tight end screen to Tucker Kraft was such a great play call because he's not been used so much. And then you just like draw up a play for him. So I'd like to see more of that stuff mixed in. That's the game that Matt LaFleur has to play to figure out how to feed all of the mouths on this team.
There's
looking at
probably also something to do with the O-line did not have a good game or getting killed, and I have a feeling Tucker Kraft probably got locked up and trying to block a little bit.
33 passing plays. Tucker Kraft ran 33 routes.
What the f-
Never mind. But I don't know what the hell happened.
But he played 53 snaps, so he also blocked for 20 snaps as well.
Yeah.
Going to it, the Jordan Love was 1 for 5 on 20-plus yard throws, 3 for 4 on 10 to 19, 0 for 9, not 0 for 9, Jesus, 14 for 18 from 0 to 9. I even wrote that down differently, and I keep writing these numbers right next to each other. So I read the 0 to 9 yards as 0 for 9. That's not what it was. 14 for 18 from 0 to 9. That's where the drop occurred, and then he was 1 for 1 behind the line of scrimmage, which is where Josh Jacobs has been getting his targets. And I'm not saying that Jordan Love needs to be check down Charlie, but Josh Jacobs needs to be involved in the passing game.
Okay, there it was. There was a screen pass to Bo Melton in the first quarter when we were in the red zone. It didn't go long. He only went a yard. I'm trying to remember. I knew I saw a different one.
That's right. It was just a quick pop pass.
Yeah. Yep. No. It was an actual screen pass where the safety was playing so far off.
It was an actual screen.
Yep. It was an actual screen.
Yep. Okay. Going to offensive line, Bryant.
Yeah, I just didn't think they had a good game. There's been plenty of games where I said the sack was kind of on Jordan Love holding the ball. That was not the case this game. Maybe one of them where I'm like, dude, you got to get rid of the ball there. But he was pressured, and he was pressured quick several times. You can talk about Sean Ryan's holding call on that disgusting touchdown on Josh Jacobs. That's pretty soft. I thought he let go of him pretty quick, and the guy pulled Ryan on top of him. But so that one hurt. We scored a touchdown there anyway. Maybe it cost us a few seconds. I don't think it would have ultimately stopped them from being able to run the clock out. So it is what it is there. But overall, they've been really good all year. So you give them a pass. But we got outcoached this game for sure. And that's kind of been a trend in these 5 games. And we haven't been sacked a lot going in this game, but Minnesota definitely got to Jordan a lot more than I've seen other teams do all year long.
Yeah.
So just kind of weren't ready for it. The pass blocking was not great, and the run blocking was not great either. They did create some holes, but once again you get so far down that you're not really able to use probably your best weapon on offense in the way that we should be using him, it just kind of really puts you behind the 8 ball. So the O-line needs to play better. Needs to not, they called Zach Tom for like an offsides because apparently he's lined up too far back.
That was an illegal formation.
Formation. Oh yeah.
And then they had one for Dontavian Wicks not being on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So it's just that's another thing when it comes to these games. We're getting a lot of stupid, like you said, this is Pop Warner type of stupid penalties like against these teams. So I think we're just getting in our heads a little more than we need to be. So, hopefully they play loose and fast against Chicago, and then they can take that same mentality into the playoffs. Because if they're getting into their brain too much and trying to do everything perfect against these teams, it seems like they're making more mistakes when they do that because they're putting up too much pressure on themselves.
So Todd put the comment, maybe it's time for LaFleur to hand play calls to someone else. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not a single chance.
No.
I understand that you can be unhappy with how he called some of the plays in this game, but we've talked about weapons, and obviously this is the first season of having Josh Jacobs. How there are so many more examples of us having conversations where it's like Matt LaFleur is in his bag than it is of Matt LaFleur didn't do what we wanted him to.
Yeah. There's like two calls the whole
not.
game that were head scratching to me, and that was I wanted him to take the points and then running the ball when we're down 17 on 2nd and 11. Those are the two I'm like, what the hell are we doing? Other than that, I thought he was fine. You got to execute. You got to catch the ball.
If we're talking like things that we're happy with versus things that we're unhappy with, like the scale is stupidly in favor of things that we like.
The only thing that I think LaFleur needs to clean up has nothing to do with his play calls. I think he needs to control his motions a little bit better on the sidelines. We talk, and I put it in the chat right away after I took the night off on Sunday. I put it in there on Monday morning, and I said, I think people literally forget how young this Packers team is. And when you have a young team like that, they're very impressionable, right? Yep. These guys have to learn how to win. And we talked about it last year with LaFleur having the challenge of teaching Love how to win and teaching Love how to quarterback in the NFL, right? Well, now he has to take another step, and he has to learn how to be a little bit better leader of men. And that's the place where everybody kind of credits the people like Dan Campbell. And they forget about people like Andy Reid, who's been here a while. Andy Reid goes for some crazy fourth downs too.
Let me throw another guy
early in the Chiefs kingdom, dynasty that they're building right now. He was going for some crazy fourth downs.
Let me throw another guy in there.
You don't see him losing his shit on the sideline.
No, he doesn't, do one of these or the eye roll or the God damn it. Yeah. I love that you love winning. I love winning too. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay if a play doesn't work.
One more guy to put in that conversation is Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. That's who I know.
Tomlin absolutely needs to be in that conversation. Yeah. Brad, I don't think Rodgers taught him that. Rodgers is never that animated. Matt LaFleur
Rodgers had some pretty tough body language, but I will say that he was always more upset with himself, and he just kind of tried to hold his teammates to higher standards. Like when he threw a pick, like everybody always thinks of the one against Carolina when he threw the tablet. He was mad that he threw an interception, Yeah. It wasn't like he went up to somebody and be like, you got to run a better route. But when somebody ran a wrong route, he told them about it.
Yeah. Matt LaFleur swears at refs a lot.
I think people just make too many assumptions on what a person's thinking by what they're showing. Yeah. Like I saw someone say Jordan Love doesn't seem to care. Like, no, that's just like the way he is. Yeah. And it's just like, where are we getting this from?
People really just be saying shit.
Yeah, you really do. And it's another thing I'm like tired of is like, I hate, and this is like, I've done this too, so I'm guilty of it too, is like we place too much blame on like one person or one player when something doesn't go right. It's like, oh, Matt LaFleur is a shit coach because this, and this. Like, yeah, but also like the players don't execute sometimes as well.
You know what I've been calling vice versa for like 4 years? I've been calling it the scapegoat effect. That people feel that it's like if this one thing was different, everything would be happy.
And it's like this whole week is like Jordan Love sucks, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, cool. But like there's other factors that went into Jordan Love's play that aren't attributed to what you see in the numbers either.
Yeah,
it just gets so boring explaining it to people.
I feel like in this game they didn't take a lot of shots down the field, which really surprised me because that's something we've been really good at. And it's like, I get it that we don't have Christian Watson, but Dontavian Wicks can still burn some people. Jaden Reed, if he's not running around in circles in the backfield, can burn some people downfield. We've seen Romeo Dobbs make some disgusting catches downfield. So I felt like he was aggressive on that fourth down. He was and some of that, but I don't think we were as aggressive as we needed to be downfield, in my opinion. And protection plays a role.
I would say Dobbs is probably the guy you can use more in that situation. Yeah. But, I mean, Brian, we kind of had this conversation when we were starting the beginning of the show. Like, they're not going to drastically change guys' roles in Week 17. Yeah. Like, the role is to be around the line of scrimmage. Like, they're not going to change that in Week 17 because Christian Watson's out.
And speaking of, like, Dobbs and stuff, and you kind of said it, is like the offensive line didn't play well enough for us to use, like, the Packers are really good at running over routes and getting open, like between like 15, 20, 25 yards down the field in that over route. They're really good at running them, but the offensive line has to give them time to run. Those routes don't develop as quickly as you want them to. So it's just like a tough give and take. So like
Jordan
you have to
did miss a couple throws. Like
did.
on that one read. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. Anthony's got a couple good comments in here. He said LaFleur needs to be aggressive, which is what I was saying on the fourth down. Have confidence, less emotional. He's a great coach. I agree with that. And then he said the bench love for Willis has to be the dumbest thing some fans keep saying. Yeah. Strongly agree.
I can promise you they have really bad credit scores in real life if they think that dumb about football.
Yeah. John said on coaching they are still making the same mistakes, and that's they hear the same speech every loss, but you are right, they are very young. And I think that to me is where the young and the same mistakes, that's the kind of thing that kind of correlates. The same speech after every loss, some of it, yes. I mean, like the execution, you're going to hear that after every single team talking about losses. That's always going to be kind of just a blanket thing.
Only so many things that lead to losses.
And I think Jordan Love he talked about his wide receivers a little bit this week. You know, the guys need to execute and get open. That is their job. Like Jordan Love can throw guys open at times, but it's not his job to throw balls to make guys open. Yeah, Cody said guys people that say that to bench Love probably spend their free time in trash talk hoops. That is probably accurate.
If you like your mental health, don't spend time in trash talk groups.
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely so bad. I can't do it.
Yeah,
and yeah, I do it.
Dude, I see you. You just say K.
That's what Simon's trying
Nothing pisses people off more on Facebook than the letter K and the laughing emoji.
You know what I've started doing is when people are whining about stuff, I've started just putting the cookie emoji.
Nice, I like that.
I told you that the Gutekunst can't draft in the first round.
Oh, that's my favorite. It's like, oh, I was so right about this player being bad. Like, okay,
cookie. Here's your cookie. Like, okay.
That's like you're happy that a player didn't pan out. Like what?
With the whole Gutekunst thing, that's a recency bias because the last few picks haven't been good. But let's pretend like he didn't pick Jordan Love or you know what I mean, like Rashawn Gary, who has been off, but I think it's like a little more of the scheme this year.
He's had far more hits than misses, and he's really good in the late rounds. Not to mention trades and free agency.
Yeah,
1,000%.
Okay, Simon, about the run game.
I wish there was more of it. Although we did, I thought the run game was pretty effective, minus the Josh Jacobs fumble. That was pretty much the only hit I really had on him. Josh Jacobs still had up
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, because he doesn't fumble. But
he scores so many touchdowns. That's the thing Josh Jacobs doesn't do. He doesn't score touchdowns, right?
No, he doesn't. Speaking of which, he had another one this week. 17 carries, forced a couple missed tackles, 54 yards after contact, 69 yards on 17 carries. Nice.
Nice.
And then Emmanuel Wilson also had 29 yards and a touchdown on 6 attempts.
Didn't he have 69 yards last week, too?
Oh, yeah, because he didn't play like that much either. I think he did. You're right. And then he also had 11 yards after contact. Love had 1 carry for 6 yards too. I really wish that Josh Jacobs didn't happen because then the whole narrative of like, oh, Matt LaFleur shouldn't take the ball first and stuff. It's like, no, because then what happens is like we get down, quick in the game and good save. And then we have to play catch up, and Jordan Love throws the ball 30 plus times, which isn't a recipe for success all the time.
Right.
Which we talked about last week too.
Right.
Yeah, he had 69 rushing yards last week too.
Nice.
Just like you draw it up.
Yeah, Brooks didn't play a ton. What happened with Brooks this week? He didn't. I don't remember him in much, to be honest with you.
And he struggled a little bit. I don't know. They didn't use him as much.
He might have got hurt because there was obvious passing downs where I was expecting.
Yeah, he only played 7 snaps,
and then it was Emmanuel Wilson back there, pass pro.
Yeah,
where
Emmanuel Wilson played 20.
So we'll have to wait for the injury report tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. John also said back-to-back playoffs. Goody's the man, and yeah, absolutely agree. My other thing on the running backs, and you brought up the week 2 fumble. I'm not that I'm glad that it happened, but if Jacobs had 2 fumbles in 3 weeks going into the playoffs, there'd be a lot of people being like, we should bench Jacobs. He didn't have any fumbles until week 13. Now he's got 2 in the last 3 games. I get that people that will take the time to watch our show will understand that 2 fumbles in a season is not a lot. 3 fumbles in a season is not a lot. If you want like the definition of what a lot of fumbles looks like, go to look at Ramondre Stevenson.
Especially when you're carrying the ball 300 times.
Yeah. The amount of carries to fumble ratio, Josh Jacobs does not have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs has 330 touches on the year. So
yeah, and 3 fumbles. Okay. And one of them he got tripped on, which should have been a penalty, but that's neither here nor there.
I think he only lost 2 fumbles on the year, right? Or is it 3?
3. He's lost 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because he had one that he fumbled in the
Minnesota.
Colts game, and then the Seahawks, and then this one.
Okay.
All right, Jake, 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah, so 8 of 14 on 3rd down. That's very good. That's a good thing. That's one of the positives to take away from this game, right? Is they executed on 3rd downs. 4 for 4 on 3rd and shorts. 3 for 6 on 3rd and mediums, and 1 for 4 on 3rd and longs. Excuse me. In the first half, they went 3 for 7. All 3 third downs that they converted into first downs were from 3rd and shorts. So they were 3 for 3 on 3rd and shorts, 0 for 4 elsewhere. The second half, they were 5 for 7. 3 for 3 on the 3rd and medium. So that's a really positive take. That I feel like the 3rd and medium is like it's tougher than the 3rd and long in a little bit, you know, because like 3rd and long, you kind of know you're going to throw, right? 3rd and medium, the coach has got to go like, you know, it's like the red zone, right? Like, do we run the ball? Do we pass the ball? Do we throw it to the tight end? Do we go this set? I feel like the 3rd and medium is like a big telltale of how the offense is playing, and the offense obviously played a lot better in the second half. The confidence was there a little bit more. So after being 0 and 3 on the 3rd and mediums in the first half, to go 3 for 3 in the second half gave me a lot of confidence. So I was happy with the 3rd down offense this week.
And honestly, I feel somewhat similarly about the red zone offense. They scored on all 4 drives. So they scored on all 4. They were 3 for 4 on touchdowns. The first one, they got the field goal. That was at the goal line. That was the beginning of the game. Mm-hmm. Then they had the second one right after the interception. Run by Josh Jacobs, a pass from Love to Dobbs, and then 2 Josh Jacobs runs, and they were in the end zone. The next one, they got to a 2nd and 6 at the 15 at an incomplete pass. Then a pass from Jordan Love to Romeo Dobbs, the slant that is unstoppable. And then they had 1st and goal at the 9, 2 Emmanuel Wilson runs, and he was in for a touchdown. Also had a 2-point conversion to Romeo Dobbs after that touchdown. And then the 4th trip, Jordan Love to Bo Melton, got the Packers to the 18-yard line. Love to Wicks, got them to the 1-yard line. And then 1st and goal at the 2-yard line, the 1-yard line. Had a negative 2-yard run with Emmanuel Wilson, and then a touchdown to Malik Heath. So 3 for 4 on touchdowns. No complaints about the red zone. So, Bryant, I'll start with you. How did you feel about Jordan Love's performance?
Yeah, I don't. Obviously, it wasn't. You know, he didn't throw an interception or anything, but going into the last 2 drives, he had like 60-something, 70-something yards passing or whatever it was. So it just wasn't good enough. And, you know, you can put that on coaching. You can put it on the wide receivers. They just, overall, it just was not a good game overall. I thought there was a couple throws that he missed. He had, I can't remember. I think it was Jaden Reed, maybe, or Romeo that beat. I mean, he was running on the throw. He was pressured. It was a hard throw, but he had him over the top and missed him. No, it was, I think it was Dontavian Wicks, actually, because he tried to dive for it. Couldn't quite get it. So there was a couple throws like that you kind of wish he probably had back, but he was super pressured on that. I don't know that he missed any like very easy open throws that I thought he should have made. I just don't think he had a lot of opportunities to do much. And people that are complaining, he doesn't look like he cares on the sideline. Matt LaFleur's talked about it numerous times that Jordan Love is the type of person that whatever just happened, he puts it in the past and he looks forward and is ready to move on.
Which is a great trait to have as an athlete.
I think Detroit just got scored on, or Simon having a Tourette's attack or something.
No, fucking, they missed a rebound.
John said Heath needs more playing time. If Christian Watson misses again, I'd be okay with giving Heath some more burn.
Yeah, but I mean, just not like he didn't turn the ball over. Good job keeping that streak alive. He's throwing too many interceptions. This dude hasn't thrown an interception since in October. Okay, like
also 0 turnover worthy plays this week.
Yeah, that's the number.
Or beginning of November or whatever it was. So yeah, like he's fine. You're right. He doesn't have the numbers he had last year, but he also missed 2.5 games.
Yeah, like I said, they had a pass that got them to the 1 yard line. If Dontavian Wicks finds the ball, a way to put the ball in the pylon, we're talking 200 and some yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah.
Simon, do you have any other thoughts you wanted to add to Jordan Love besides the no turnover worthy plays, which I'm glad you brought up?
I just think he struggled a little bit in the first half. He had that drive where he went 0 for 3 on their own side of the field. But other than that, I think it wasn't as bad as like maybe the numbers indicated. I think there was just a lot of unfortunate errors that contributed to the offense's lack of production in the first half. It's just little dumb errors from a lot of the other players that made Love's numbers look worse. He honestly picked it up in the fourth quarter and made it a close game. I don't really care what other people think. That was a close game. Like that game. That game was put in a position where the defense could have given the offensive ball back, ball back, and given them an opportunity to win that game. It was a close game.
I think if Green Bay gets the ball back, they're winning that game because
I think so too.
Started moving the ball, and that's why I was so pissed off because they ran that same play to the other side, the first play of that drive. For me, I was so frustrated with the defensive call. Like, how do you not cover the flats? Like, fine. For one, there's no way they're running it there. If they beat you running the ball there, fine, so be it. Let them run the ball there. We had been stopping them pretty well with our defensive line that game anyway. Secondly, if they want to throw it over the top of your head and complete a harder throw, then fine, let them do that too. But for me, you got to cover the flats. You cannot just leave him open at the 2 yard line that he needs it. And I get it that they almost messed up that play, but that's the same crap that kind of happened with Detroit. They almost messed up the play, right? Like there's been too much almost this year for us, and we need to make it not almost and make it compete. But I will say the way the offense turned on, if Green Bay gets the ball back there with the way McManus has been kicking, I would put us at like a 90% chance to win that game.
Yeah, especially where they were on the field too. I mean,
but yeah, that defensive call just really I was so pissed off with that. I'm like, how do you get put in that position?
Justin said, I'd like to see Love scramble a little bit more when nothing's open, not go Josh Allen / Lamar Jackson, but get some yards and get down. So that would also help open up the middle of the field a bit more.
He has been a little
good.
He's
been doing it a little bit more. But I mean, he's not going to be, like you said, he's not going to be, Josh Allen, Lamar. But even just to get the linebackers to cheat up a couple steps, that could open up some of the over the top into the middle type stuff.
I do wonder if his injury earlier in the season has kind of stopped him from doing that much this year. Because this year he's only rushed 25 times for 83 yards. Last year he rushed, I want to say he had like a couple hundred yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that was very early in the season too. Is like, I think the second half of the season he probably had like less than 150 yards rushing.
Yeah, because he had a big run against the Falcons week 2, and then he had a really huge run against the Saints the week after that. He had a couple big ones against the Saints.
And then a huge one against the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so last year he did run it for 50 times for 247 yards. And there was not a single game he had less than 2 carries. So I don't know I'd have to look at what that compares for this year. Okay. There's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games where he's had 1 carry or less. So he's definitely scrambling less this year, but I wonder how much it's due to the injury.
Yeah, the injury, yeah. Next year, we might have to wait till next year to get kind of a better baseline on what his running is going to look like.
I do agree. I think he could use his athletic ability to run a little more. So I think
he's going to go train with Tyreek Hill in the offseason.
Yeah. I think he could catch some like Philly off guard maybe the first game of the playoffs if all of a sudden he scrambles 5-6 times. Like where they
did run the option play a couple times last year too, or like the quarterback keeper.
Yep. I trust his decision making too in situations like that also. Even just if they run more like bootleg stuff, more play action bootleg stuff, I'm always down for more play action. But no, John brought up a really good point we're talking about, garbage time. It was 20-3. They tried to put us away, and that's when we got the pick to swing the momentum. There was no point where Minnesota was not trying to score. Like there's nothing garbage time like that. Like Minnesota was still trying to score at every point until the last drive when they were trying to kill the clock.
If you
even on defense too,
garbage time.
Yeah, there's no garbage time.
I said if you had a legitimate chance to win the game, it's not garbage time.
Yep.
I also they were trying to stop us all the times. Like they were still blitzing us like well into the fourth quarter too.
Yep.
So it's not like they were playing way off coverage or soft or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone saying they were like, oh, it was garbage time. They didn't care if you scored to get within 3 or 2 points with 2 minutes left and all your timeouts. They were definitely trying to stop us.
Yeah.
From said Sam Darnold looks like a Lego. I could see it. He comes from the Peyton Manning School of Foreheads.
No, he doesn't. That's the forehead of all foreheads, dude.
That's like
he comes from the school. He's not the master, but
dude,
he's got a
Peyton
degree.
Manning used to have a red mark in the middle of his forehead and still have a whole nother forehead on top of the red mark.
I'm not saying he's the next Peyton Manning, but he's got a degree from the Peyton Manning School of Foreheads.
They had to put 2 forehead pads in his helmet.
Justin said, I'm never going to say to bench Love, but I wouldn't mind seeing Willis run a little wildcat with Jacobs. Well, we're not taking Jordan Love off the field, but we'll talk about Malik Willis in a little bit here.
Don't forget what Jordan Love said when they asked him that question. He said, I could do that too.
Okay, hold on. I gotta unpack some stuff. Okay.
4 foreheads.
Oh my god, dude. I have so much stuff to say right now. What the hell is going on?
Wait, what happened?
First of all, you can't scramble against the Vikings. They run an 8-man front. They blitz like 7 different players on each play. The linebackers are all looking at the quarterback.
I think he means in general.
Hold on a second. I want the whole floor. I want the whole fucking floor. You can't fucking run when you have 2 fucking free runners at you. It's impossible. I saw so many people like, why didn't Love run? I don't know. He has 2 300-pound men that run 17 miles an hour trying to rip his face off. You try to run away from that. It's not happening. I'm not trying to come at you, Justin. I just saw a lot of comments.
Way to go, Justin. You opened up a can of worms.
Yeah, we can just leave, Jake.
We traded a 7th rounder for this guy for a reason. Yes, he's looked good in times. We paid Jordan Love a lot of money to be our quarterback. No, I don't want to be a gimmicky offense. Yeah. Jordan Love can run too. People can't make comments like they want Jordan Love to run, and then we're going to take out a quarterback so our backup quarterback can run. That doesn't make sense.
That's not what Green Bay has going on. That's what Pittsburgh has going on.
Exactly. That's like the Bucs trading for Damian Lillard and then not giving him the ball to shoot the game-winning shot. That's stupid. Yeah, unless the option is Chris Middleton, it's a dumbass option. I'm sorry. It's just dumb.
Jake, we can leave if you want.
Dude, I am so sick and tired of these freaking trash talk groups and these stupid freaking idiots commenting. Yeah, give me the whole floor. I want this. I'm going to say this about Jordan Love. Jordan Love looked a little flustered this week. That's okay.
He did.
That's a good thing. I'm so happy he looked flustered this week. I think that he was starting to feed into the Jordan Love Toyota-thon thing a little bit. And every once in a while, as a young guy, you need to get your ass whooped a little bit so that you wake up and you realize, maybe I need to get into the film room an extra hour every day this week so that I don't start smelling the flowers and thinking I'm the shit. And I swear on everything that is holy, everything that is Jesus Christ or Allah or whoever the hell you bow down to at the end of the night before you go to bed. If I see one more goddamn person say, bench Jordan Love for Malik Willis, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to lose my absolute shit. Please stop saying that. It's stupid. Okay, I'm done.
Justin said, give me one or the other, Love run or run it with Willis. It's game dependent. He said, calm down, DJ Khaled.
I'm not going to calm down. I'm sick and tired of hearing that shit.
DJ Khaled.
Another one. So looking at it, it is game dependent. And to be fair to Jake here, the Vikings have a good defense. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Brian Flores gets more looks at head coach this offseason. Wouldn't shock me. John said Clifford time, LOL JK.
This ban that Brian Barstead guy.
This guy said, "Do you think they should bench Love for Willis?" I don't know who this guy. He just looks dumb. Like, look at this guy's face. This is a dumb face.
No, I don't. Right. I don't think that. God.
So we've talked about. Afam said, "Let's lock Jordan in his hotel room instead of benching him, so we can start Willis." We'll talk about Malik Willis in just a second. Afam said that Jordan Love has more questions than answers right now. I don't know that I agree with that. I think we've pretty well figured out that Jordan Love is the guy.
Jordan Love makes like a throw, maybe not this game, but there's been like almost a throw or two every game where you're like, that's just not normal. Like, not a lot of quarterbacks can make that throw. And that's where you like, okay, if he can bottle this and channel this and do this more often, granted, people got to remember this is his second year starting. People wanted to compare him to Stroud this year. Would you rather have Love this year or Stroud this year, who's been struggling mightily?
Let me throw you out another guy whose bracket he's in. Would you rather have Love or Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like people got to kind of put it in perspective. Yes, it's his 5th year in the league, but he's been starting for 2 years. No, I actually want us to trade Willis this offseason if we can get a decent offer for him. But we'll talk about that in the offseason. But for me, like Jordan Love, there's been handfuls of throws again this year where it's just like, that's not a normal throw. Like, not all quarterbacks can make that throw.
Afam, he hasn't thrown a pick since like week 11. Actually, it's probably been before that.
Also, his touchdown pass to Malik Heath was a nasty throw. It was a little sidearm, beautiful spiral right around the defender. That was a disgusting throw.
It is week 11. Week 11 was the last time he threw an interception. And we've talked about his interceptions this season. He's had a lot that kind of were not his fault. But Afam also said, give me Willis.
I know what he's trying to do. It's not going to work because I have a brain in my head, unlike most of the people in trash talk groups, but good job, Afam.
He said LaFleur better chemistry. That's the thing, is you can't be arguing for Malik Willis and also thinking that LaFleur is a bad coach.
So almost 50% of the NFL quarterbacks that start regularly have 11 or more picks thrown this year. There's 10 that have more picks thrown than Jordan Love.
Yeah. John said it goes back to a very young team. Packers are set for a long time, 2 years of playoffs. Justin asked, when's the last time Willis threw an interception? It's a good question. When's the last time he threw a touchdown? Just saying.
Are people complaining about Patrick Mahomes, who has, let's see, a few more 100 yards than Jordan Love, one more touchdown, the same amount of picks?
Yes.
No,
same
because
QBR.
he's got, everything else. Including Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and a 14 and
yeah, dude, he sounds like Kermit the Frog and he loves ketchup, dude. Like, what's not to love about him?
Jordan Love has the 5th highest QBR in the NFL right now.
Yeah, he's having
but he's got 11 interceptions and he throws too many interceptions.
Yeah. His QBR is 69.
All right.
0.4.
Let's put a bow on this. Let's start talking about the Bears so we can wrap up this season, at least the regular season, because the Bears season is over after this week and the Packers isn't.
The Bears season been over for like 2 months now. Let's be.
I don't know. 2 months ago they were contenders.
No. I always count the Bears season over when I start seeing them start doing mock drafts and shit. Once I start seeing them drop mock drafts in the chat.
Dude, they're winning 11 games next year, Simon.
Oh my god,
they're 4-2 now. They're 4-12.
Yeah. John Willis is a very solid backup. So let's start on the defensive side of the ball. Simon, what do you got for the Packers defense against the Bears offense?
Okay. So,
all that.
For me, huh?
I said, "Wow, all that, huh?"
He's taking bumps over there.
I have a pretty good amount of notes, actually.
I believe you.
All right, so before we were starting, we were talking about how much we want our starters to play. This is my thoughts on it. I want us to whoop the fuck out of the Bears. I want it to be like a 50-0 game, and I want us to take that momentum and take it out on the next into the next stadium because we're gonna play an away game. So to me, This is what I want the offense to do. The Bears have allowed the 8th most yards after contact running backs this season with over 1,300 yards. And allowing them to generate, I can't read, the 5th most run yards over expected. So I want to see Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, and Chris Brooks, if he's good, I don't know what happened there, to absolutely run it down their throats. And we were talking about play action bootlegs earlier. I want to see more of that from Jordan Love. And I want to see guys get open on those over routes I was talking about in the middle of the field, which we killed Dallas with last year in the playoff game. The only other thing I really have to say is like Montez Sweat is the only guy I'm really worried about on that defense. He has 48 pressures and a 14%, almost 15% pressure rate, which is good for 16th in the league. So Montez Sweat and absolutely run it down their throats, score 50, put a 50 burger on them.
So you jumped to the Packers offense. Instead
I
of the
was,
Packers defense.
I was holding my laugh the whole time, like, dude, this is all great thoughts, but we're trying to talk about the
all right,
dude. I'm gonna be honest. I stopped listening to you when you put him on the screen only, so I'm just here.
Well, that's because you always go to another screen during the show, but it's neither here nor there.
Dude, the wings are on. What do you want? What do you say?
Put it on.
Things about the Packers defense when the defense banner.
I thought you said offense. That's my bad. Well, let's just move on to the offense then.
So he did admit during that whole thing that he couldn't read, so that's fair.
That's true. I can't read for shit.
Anthony Sweat said he wasn't losing to the Packers this year.
Yeah.
Matthew, it's still up for seeding. We'll talk about, we'll see what happens. Some of the stuff that could go on this week. Some of the teams are still motivated to beat others. So they could have 2 potentially different seeds and 3 potential different opponents. So nothing fully set in stone, but we don't duck smoke. If it's the Eagles, they can get these hands. They're rated E for everyone. All right. Matthew said Bears 7, Packers 27, and Anthony said 34-27. We'll get to some score predictions here in a minute. So now that we're on the offensive side of the ball, Brian, what are you looking for from the Packers offense against the Bears defense? And then we'll flip.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the other side of this than Simon, because part of me thinks we have not much to gain and everything to lose a little bit. If there's a devastating injury or something, okay, I get it. You can build confidence, but how much confidence are you? Like, if I went and had a little brother and beat the shit out of him, am I gaining a lot of confidence? Probably not.
Yes, I have 5 brothers. Yes.
So like for me, it's just like, no, I'm not really gaining confidence because everyone's still gonna be like, yeah, they beat up on the teams that are really nothing or whatever, or that they should really beat up on. So for me, I do think Jordan Love and all them should play, but I think Matt LaFleur and them should drop something to where it's their best game plan they can come up with. Try to get 17, 20 points in the first half, and then honestly, unless they look up at the scoreboard and Dallas is somehow upsetting Washington, you basically bench people because we don't want to get anyone injured. Because if they look up at the scoreboard and it's 24-3 Washington, which is probably a more likely outcome, being that Dallas just got completely destroyed by Kenny Pickett. But then I think they bench people in the second half. As much as I would love for them to absolutely slaughter the Bears, I don't really know that it helps us. Also, I think Malik Willis and the backups could beat the Bears. So I don't think you take the L going into. I don't think you take the L going into the playoffs. Yeah, it would be a little oof, we lost to the Bears. But if we're leading at half, 21-7, and then they come back and beat us because we put all our backups in. So, you know what I mean? We should actually start Willis and then put Love in the second half.
I really messed with
har.
All right, Jake, what do you think on the offense?
I'm annoyed.
Love needs more reps. He's so erratic.
Yeah. Packers offense, I focus on third downs when we talk about offense. That's what I focus on previews. Packers third down offense, they're up to 40%, so that's a good number. They're 12th in the NFL. Last 3 weeks, they're 9th at 48.72%. Bears defense is allowing 37.93%. That's 13th in the NFL. Over the last 3 weeks, they've been really bad. Actually, the exact same percentage of third downs given up that the Packers are converting over the last 3 weeks, which is absolutely wild, 48.72%, and that puts them at 25th. So that's a good advantage for the Packers offense.
Interesting. Okay, so John said put Clifford in it. Just get them all on the field at the same time. Fuck it. John threw a score prediction out there as well, 34-6. We'll get to score predictions in a second. We'll get there. For me, looking on the offensive side of the ball, as far as the passing game distribution goes, I like seeing Wicks involved. My biggest thing is we need to have Josh Jacobs involved in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the red zone is concerned, the Bears are allowing 46.7%. That's number 3 in the NFL. And the Packers are scoring on 60.6% of their red zone tries. They're up to 9th. We had a conversation in the middle of the season. They were in the low 20s, and now they're in top 10. So they've massively improved there. If Packers get 5 tries, I'd like to see them score on 3, get that 60% area. That's where I'd be happy. Abram said a coming out party for Caleb. I will not read there's quotations on that. John said 65. I mean, if we're talking 5 chances, it's going to be 3 or 4, so it's 60 or 80. So if they score on 60%, I'm good versus a team that allows less than 50. So, all right. Now, let's go to the coaching aspect of it. This is where I'm going to jump in on what Bryant was saying as far as the starters are concerned. Regardless, I think if the starters play half, I'm fine with it. Like Bryant said, I agree with Malik Willis could beat the Bears. The Bears, I don't think are going to be trying to aggressively win. I don't think they're going to be actively trying to lose or tank, but I think they're really going to be just trying to kind of figure stuff out versus, let's play to win. They're going to be figuring out, let's play to figure out what we can start working on for 2025. That's where the Bears are at.
They've been doing that for 2 months now.
Yeah. Well, they weren't mathematically eliminated yet.
No, I meant not winning.
Oh, not winning? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Not for lack of trying at that point, though. But Caleb Williams, oh, jeez, Justin. Not going to read that comment either. Looking at it, I'm fine with Matt LaFleur, but any other coaching stuff, I'd like to see Jeff Hafley and Jason Rebovich get a little bit more creative with the defensive line if Devontae Wyatt isn't going to play. That's where the Packers need Devontae Wyatt on the defensive line. So, Bryant, what are you looking for from special teams?
Yeah, same thing I've been looking for. Just consistency, really. Just no stupid errors against a really bad team. Hopefully get a couple chances to, kick in that stadium because they will be going to Philly. So kicking outside, just continue to let McManus show that he's been doing good, but no fumbles or nothing against this team. Basically, is all it. I do feel like Whelan has been a little off lately, so maybe he can have a really good game. He did have one big, huge punt though against Minnesota, but that was in a dome, so hopefully he can just have a solid game.
It seems like he's had one bad punt per game for the last
4 games. Yeah, doesn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, just one. At least it's not bad games of punting. It's just one bad punt.
Yeah.
All right, Simon. Packers defense against the Bears offense.
Were you listening?
Packers defense. Like the side that Edgerrin Cooper and Javon Bullard and Kenny Clark, that side.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Rashawn Gary, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Eric Stokes. I know we talked about him earlier. That guy. He plays on defense.
I thought he plays on offense.
He does wear a running back number.
All right, these comments are getting out of control. All right, so Bears' offensive line has been absolutely abysmal. Part of it is that Williams holds onto the ball way too long. And this was a huge issue when the Packers played the Bears the first time. So 51 of Caleb Williams' 67 sacks have occurred on dropbacks longer than 4 seconds. So he holds on the ball way too long. Williams has held onto the ball on average 1.12 seconds after being pressured, which is the second longest time to throw after pressures. So these the secondary needs to get up and get on these screens and short throws. I can't think. I've watched the Bears the last few weeks, which was basically against my will, and they cannot throw the ball down the field.
Like holding the chick's eyes open.
They cannot throw the ball down the field. So getting up on these the wide receivers, forcing them to hold on the ball a little longer, and let the pass rush do its thing.
John wants to see the Packers get 9 sacks. I'm on board with that.
Oh, yeah.
Justin said on a serious note, I hope they run the ball right at Sweat and talk shit the whole time. I'm on board for that as well. Brian, what are you looking for from the Packers defense against the Bears offense?
Yeah, pretty much just kind of what Simon said. They should, if we can't produce pressure in this game, we have a serious problem. This should be another one of those games like Tennessee where we, produce 6-7 sacks. Like they should not score. If our starters are in this whole game, if they score more than 13, it's kind of embarrassing. As I know that's a high standard, but like
the Packers should be able to dictate the tone in the trenches.
This should never be close, and the defense. This could be a confidence builder for them. I know they struggle against these better teams, but maybe they practice with a few things in the middle of the field, see what they can work out here. Like, they have like one player that you have to be worried about, and that's DJ Moore. I mean, Rome Odunze is fine, but he's a rookie and he struggled.
Allen's been better.
Overthrows everyone by like 10 yards, so hopefully McKinney's just waiting for her to get a couple of those. He does do a good job normally throwing down sidelines when he overthrows everyone, but I've seen that dude miss a lot of throws, like deep. So, this is a team that you want. Make him throw deep. Do not let this guy throw in front of you, because he can. Like if he throws deep, he's going to miss 50% of his shots, at least.
Yeah. Avum said re-sign Zach Tom before the game and then play him 1 or 2 series and then rest him for the playoffs. Justin said this should be a similar game against the Saints, and John said he would love to see another shutout. I'm not going to go that far. The Saints were playing with a lot of backups and a lot of key players out, like their top running back, their top quarterback, their top wide receiver. So the Bears have those things. They have 3 really good wide receivers, 2 really good wide receivers, and a rookie wide receiver. They have a pretty good tight end. They have an okay running back. Like, they're not as bad as the Saints.
Yeah, and I do think there's a decent possibility that at least the fourth quarter and maybe the whole entire second half is going to be a lot of backups, depending on what's going on in the other games.
Avum said it could be McKinney time. I absolutely would love to see Xavier McKinney get one more interception for the end of the season to solidify that all-pro nod, which I'm still hoping for. And a 6-year extension for Zach Tom. I don't think any of us are going to argue with that.
No.
Jake, what are you looking for from the Packers defense?
So third down defense been good all year. They're top 10, allowing 36%. Excuse me. Last 3 weeks, they're number 12, allowing 38%. So nice job. Bears offense, 31st. Jesus Christ. 31st in the NFL on conversion rate. So that's bad. At 31%. Last 3 weeks, they are the worst third down offense in the NFL at 21.6%. So they have definitely given up hope. Red zone defense has improved over the last 3 weeks. They're currently at 59% touchdown percentage. That's 18th in the NFL. They're only allowing 40% over the last couple of weeks. That's 4th in the NFL. So that's pretty good. Bears. Red zone offense scoring touchdowns on 61%. That's 7th in the NFL. Over the last 3 weeks, they are the 31st, so second worst red zone offense in the NFL, scoring touchdowns on 28.57%. So their offense is just absolutely nosediving. In terms of pass rush, I wrote down some numbers here. Caleb Williams has been sacked 67 times this year. They've had a number of different players play multiple positions. From the tackle position, they've given up 18 sacks. From the guard position, they've given up 4 sacks. From the center position, they've given up 3 sacks. That number equals 35. They've given up 5 sacks from running back and tight end position. That's 40. So there are 27 sacks unaccounted for. That's on Caleb Williams, in my opinion.
That's valid.
That's a lot of sacks to be on a rookie quarterback for him not be able to read a defense and just get rid of the damn ball.
Yeah, that's valid.
That's what I got.
So John said Stokes gets his first picks. I would love that.
I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely on board for that. Looking at the defensive line, I said it last week. I said it this week. Healthy Wyatt, happy life. I hope he can clear the concussion protocol. It's not a secret, but we need some guys winning one-on-one. And I think the Packers have a better opportunity to do that this week against Chicago than they did against Minnesota last week. As we get into some of the matchup stuffs here, I'm just going to jump in when we get to that. We'll start with the injury designations to watch for, but yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game for the injuries because for me, if there's really anything that's going on with them, they shouldn't play this game. Now, whether they push to get them to play or maybe someone like, if Jock and whatever come back somehow this week now after this knee swelling, which I really highly doubt, maybe they want to get him 10 snaps or whatever, But if Christian Watson is even, only 75% go, you sit him. If Quay Walker is 75% go, you sit him. Evan Williams, they've pretty much already said will not come back. And hopefully he'll be back in the postseason. So for me, Wyatt, with his concussion, unless it was very cautious, I don't think you play him. I don't think, Andre Dillard, who has a concussion, I don't think you play him. I do think you'd be very cautious this game. I get it that you can improve to the 6th seed. I just don't think that's very likely. Not with the way Washington's playing right now. So I just think you want to be – they're going to err on the side of caution this game with a lot of those injuries. So, yeah. And as for the Bears, there's nothing crazy going on or whatever. They just not a good team. So
they just need the season to end, period.
Yeah.
Okay. Afim said this because LVN plays stiff as a board. Again, if that's just another one where it's kind of a little bit of feelings over facts when people are talking about LVN. If we look since the Preston Smith trade, he's been pretty solid on his pass rush win rate. And we talked about this early in the season a lot, that there's more to pass rush than sacks. Yes, you want to see the numbers show up in the production, but it doesn't make them bad players.
Yeah, the problem with LVN that people are looking at is because he was drafted in the 1st round instead of a 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah.
So just holding him to a different standard.
He's in his 2nd year in the league and also his 2nd scheme in the league.
Fair.
And they were asking him to play a position that he didn't really play a lot. Justin said more Carl Brooks than Brenton Cox. On board for that. Jake, what's the weather going to be like?
All right. So weather, January 5th. Intervals of cloud and sunshine. High around 22. Will feel like 11 degrees. And wanted to add this in there so there's no confusion this time around here. 12% chance of rain and snow. Okay? 12% chance. Okay? I just wanted to add that in there because Bryant's my boy and I don't want us arguing over snow. Okay? So we're good.
It snowed a lot in the earlier day.
It did. But I was looking at nighttime since we played at nighttime.
All right, going into the matchups, I'm going to go first because I kind of waited for this on the defensive side of the ball. My matchup to watch is Jeff Hafley versus Thomas Brown. So last time we played the Bears had a lot of success with their quick passes in Thomas's first game as the offensive coordinator. Now Thomas Brown is the head coach, or interim head coach, not likely to be sticking around in that position, although I'd be happy if they did because since he's been taken over, it's not gone well. So now that he's the head coach, if Jeff Hafley can beat that quick passing and, like you guys were saying, jamming the wide receivers to the line of scrimmage, not letting DJ Moore play behind the line of scrimmage and then get the ball in space, because that's what the Bears should be doing with all their talented players, is getting them the ball and letting them work. But, I'm just a guy on a podcast. So that part of it, and then forcing Caleb Williams to have to hold on to the ball a little bit because, as these guys have all been saying, it can lead to sacks. So let's go to Bryant. What is your matchup to watch?
Wait, hold on. Mine's pretty much right with yours.
Okay.
I have the Packers secondary versus the quick passing game.
Okay. You're on. Okay. Bryant, what's your matchup?
Actually, Hafley versus the middle of the field to see if they do
all right.
So
Jake, what's your matchup for Jeff Hafley this week?
My matchup is actually Kraft versus Edwards.
Let's go.
Tucker Kraft, I believe, is not being used enough in the 10 to 20 yard range. He only has three targets. He's 3 for 3, has 2 touchdowns, has a 158.3 rating in that area. We keep talking about the Packers giving up stuff over the middle of the field and how the Packers don't utilize the middle of the field enough. They use Jaden Reed short. They throw a lot of They throw a lot of comeback routes to guys like Wicks and Dobbs. Really, only guy that really goes deep is Christian Watson. So I think Tucker Kraft has the athletic ability to go after a guy like Edmonds, who's given up 48 for 63. That is 76% completion percentage, 508 yards, 10.5 yards a catch, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, but a 92 rating. I think Tucker Kraft and Jordan Love combo put together is going to be a little bit better than a 92 rating, and I think they have an opportunity there.
All right, I like it. Justin said our team versus our mental mistakes. No silly penalties this week. That's fair. Apham's bringing this up. Dobbs looks like a bobblehead with his Guardian cap. I understand it looks kind of goofy, but there's not a single person that should be holding it against him. I've seen some really out-of-pocket stuff on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
They're playing a game that's literally going to ruin their brain.
I haven't seen a lot of people bashing on it.
I've seen
just a few people,
people talking shit about it.
Oh, that's kind of
people that probably should have wished the Guardian cap was around when they were growing up. Like,
I bet you Judy Sale and Steve McNair do.
Yeah, like because Dobbs has a girlfriend / wife, whatever she is, and a couple kids, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he probably went home after that, and like maybe he's like,
especially for guys who have already had concussions.
Yeah,
it's never going to be a thing that anybody should be like, that looks dumb. Yeah, because looking dumb versus cutting down the risk of a concussion by 10 to 12%.
You could be like Tua, where he's like, for personal reasons, I'm not going to wear it. It's like, dude, you're like one more concussion away from being brain dead.
Antonio Brown.
Like,
done. Like the Law and Order theme song. Done.
You ever seen Not Another Teen Movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where he gets one more concussion and just dead.
Okay. Let's go to X Factor.
Bleed out of the years. Wait, who'd you call on? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, for X Factor?
Yes, that's what it says.
This is a little for me, it's a little more unconventional, but I'm just gonna put health. Like, just be very smart in this game, because the X Factor is the only way we can really lose in this game is if we have a injury that's gonna affect us going forward. We're in the playoffs.
Yep.
The chances of improving our seed is very slim, in my opinion. So for me, the X Factor is health, getting out of this healthy.
All right, Simon, who or what is your X Factor?
What? I have a who. Keyshawn Nixon. I think he's going to be key to stopping. Do you also have Keyshawn Nixon?
No, I just liked it.
Oh, okay.
Jake, who do you have?
Why do you put so much emphasis on the H?
What?
I have start.
Where
fast.
do you get on?
Bryant, I think you're gonna like this. I had to do a lot of research for this. It took me a long time to do this. Start fast. I love that LaFleur tries to show confidence in the offense by taking the ball after they win the toss, right? So in all but 2 games, we have had the first possession of the game. The Detroit game and the Minnesota game, the first time around, we lost both those games. Okay? Those are the only 2 games that we didn't have the absolute first possession of the game. In those games that we did have the first possession, we scored a touchdown on 5 of those. 5-0 in those games. That is versus Chicago, San Francisco, Tennessee, Seattle, and New Orleans. Dominated in 4 of those 5 games. We punted in 6 of those games, 4 and 2 of those games. Philly, Rams, Arizona, Jacksonville, Miami, and at Detroit. 4 and 2 in those games. We got field goals in 2 of those games. We're 1-1 in those games. Detroit and Colts. We got a missed field goal in one of those games versus Minnesota, lost. And we had an interception/fumble, so I put turnover in 2 of those games, 1-1. Our first possession versus Houston, we threw an interception. We came back to win that game. And then we obviously had a fumble this last week at Minnesota, and we lost that game. So the key is score. If you take the damn ball, you down there.
That's so bold.
Make it count. Okay?
Yeah.
Score
more points than the other team.
You can't lose if you score more points than the other team.
That's true.
Apham said Bullard looking real small for the NFL. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. Like, he's a normal DB size.
Yeah.
He's not Kyle Hamilton or Christian Gonzalez's size, but he's not.
I will say, though, I always think the same thing. Like, I always think when I see NFL players transfer from college, I think they look smaller. I don't know. It's like an aesthetics thing for me. It's not true, but...
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
I agree with him.
He's listed. PFF has him at 5'11".
AFAM's going to be one of those, huh? He's not 6 feet. He's 5'11".
He's definitely 6 foot on Twitter.
Oh, so you wouldn't date him, AFAM? Is that what's going on? Not 6 feet.
ESPN and Pro Football Reference have him at 5'10". So he's almost 6 foot.
I understand if you stop watching now. I get it.
He's been watching for a while.
You might want more because you
he's 5'10", 5'11", just shy of 6 foot. And he's listed, depending where you look, 195, 198, 200 pounds, depending where you look. Okay. My X Factor, I've brought him up enough times, is Devontae Wyatt. With now basically a full season, I feel comfortable in saying that as he goes, so goes the defensive line.
Yeah.
That's really how I feel. So 5'10" is different than 6 foot. All right, let's get super technical about it. That extra 2 inches. I know it's a big difference in other areas, but let's go to score predictions. There's been a handful of them thrown out in the comments. Bryant, what is your score prediction from the head?
I'm going to say 27-10.
All right, Simon?
33-16.
Okay. Jake?
Hold on here. I have 31-17.
I have 26-13.
Okay.
All right. Bryant from the heart?
41-3.
Woo! I thought mine was bold. Simon, what do you got?
38-10.
All right,
Okay.
Jake?
I have 42-13.
I have 33-9.
Oh, nice. Okay.
All right, I'll be straight up with you. I forgot to write bold predictions this week, so I don't have any Simon Says. But, Bryant, what do you got?
Yeah, and the reason I went with my heart was because I'm going to say the Packers will score for 40 points or more for the first time this year.
Yeah, I could see it.
Justin said 31-6 from the head, 38-0 from the heart. Sheesh.
38-0 would be nasty.
That'd be
That would
awesome.
be nasty work.
That'd be so
He did compare them to the Saints, though.
I mean, yeah, we did. What did we do? The Saints 34-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that far off.
Jake, you got a bold prediction?
Yeah. So there was a couple weeks ago where Giannis had kind of a quote talking about media, kind of joking with him, talking about, they win this game, you're the best in the league. And, after the Saints game, everybody was like, oh, the Packers are my dark horse. Packers are my dark horse. They go to Minnesota, they lose. Oh, man, this team's not – they're still a year away. They got nothing. They still got work to do. Jordan Love gets the bandwagon back on, throws 4 touchdowns versus the Bears.
Deal.
But then is it only the Bears, or is Jordan Love the guy?
Nope, he's going to be the guy this week after they beat the Bears. It's just how it works, man. That's how the media works, dude.
It definitely works both ways.
It's fair.
Definitely goes both ways. I don't know if Caleb Williams can relate, but do you have anything to say for defensive side of the ball?
Go ahead, Bryant. You got one?
No, I have another offensive one, but it's that both Jordan Love and Malik Willis will throw 2 touchdowns each.
I like it.
More than Caleb Williams.
That would be hilarious.
How about that? Both the Packers quarterbacks, both of them throw more touchdowns than Caleb Williams.
Yeah, the Vikings played well. Too evil. No, we don't like the Vikings.
Too evil came in real late. If you were here about an hour and a half ago, you would have been on good timing.
Yeah.
I do have a defensive.
The Vikings played well, dude.
The scary part about Too Evil, that profile picture is an actual picture of him as a Vikings fan.
I can't even see it that well.
Yeah,
this looks like a frowny face. Viking. Oh, it's a mustache. Okay.
Same thing. It'll be a frowny face in a couple weeks when they lose in the playoffs. I have a defensive one. The Packers are going to get 2 sacks, so Caleb can end on 69 sacks on the year.
Nice.
I hope we get more than 2.
That would be electric, but I hope for more.
What's the record? It's 74 or 73?
I think it's 74. That sounds.
I don't know who Brendan Perna is. Is that a person I should know?
No.
That's the Brennan. Nope.
No.
Malik's not. Here we go.
There you go, Dave.
All right.
Malik's the
Who invited
future.
this guy? Who invited this guy?
That's got to be somebody's burner.
Gotta be, bro. Gotta be.
That is definitely a burner. It's Brian's burner.
If you're not burning, we had Jake.
That's why he's been
who
so
was in
quiet this whole time. He's blogging
the
in.
upper left was going ham on Malik Willis earlier.
All right.
But yes, Too Evil. It has been a good year for Packers Vikings matchups.
It was both matchups.
The
were
Vikings
good,
won
honestly.
both of them by a combined 4 points. That's tough for the Packers. If the Vikings beat the Lions, all more power to them. I will say you'll probably find a little bit more respect here than you will for a lot of other Packers shows, and that's what we try to do. We try to be optimistic and realistic, and the realistic thing is if the Vikings win this week against the Lions, we believe that Kevin O'Connell should be coach of the year.
Yep.
And the Vikings have a good defense. And credit to Kevin O'Connell for revitalizing Sam Darnold's career and getting him paid. So there's that. I think you guys should re-sign Bakhtiari. Man, if he had good knees, he might have been the best ever. Too Evil said, "Why do backers and Bears get so angry?" Don't lump us in with Bears fans. Don't do that.
Okay, wait. I got one before we start going off on the comments and stuff. In the spirit of Torrey Taylor, the Bears punt more than they score points.
See that. I looked up the record for sacks, by the way. Caleb has the 4th most sacks in NFL history. David Carr, Jesus.
David Carr.
Whatever, they both suck. 76 sacks in 2000.
Oh, that means that we have to hit what? 11? 9? Let's go. That would be sick.
No, we got to hit 10, bro, so we can set the record.
Yeah.
Set the record straight, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just okay.
Too Evil asked the Bears and Packers rivalry is angry. Honestly, it has a lot more to do with especially in the last 30-ish years, with the Bears being obsessed with the Packers.
Yeah.
Honestly,
there were Bears fans that will openly admit that beating the Packers is their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're a lot easier to ignore than these recent Detroit fans. They're like, "Oh, we're diehards." Oh yeah, why don't you look at your attendance 5 years ago? All of a sudden they're good, and now you want to.
Dude, I've been plastering that everywhere.
Like, get over yourselves. Bears fans don't bother me anymore.
For the Vikings this weekend.
To me, the Vikings have always been our for at least for my lifetime, the Vikings have always been our most heated rivalry.
Yep.
It's been our most
definitely
consistent.
been the most back and forth.
Yeah.
Yep. That's for sure.
Yeah. The Packers Bears hasn't been a true who's gonna win every year rivalry since the fucking 60s.
They haven't beat us in 7 years.
If they don't beat us, well, it's gonna be 2025, so it's gonna be 7 calendar years.
2018,
yeah. Back when Mitch Trubisky was their quarterback. Bro. That's they're so conflicted whether they want to lose to get a better draft pick or if they want to beat us to finally end the streak.
Either way, I make fun of them. It's a win.
Yeah, and regardless, they're going to be saying that they're going to win 11 games next year.
Yeah, they're going to win the offseason, dude. Every year.
Very, very little brother energy coming from Chicago.
Yeah.
All right. Justin said, "Happy New Year, guys. Go Pack,
Happy
go."
New Year's.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. We had a little bit of a longer show this week, a little bit of extra stuff going on. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, for commenting along all show long. Now that we're nearing the 2-hour mark, we appreciate everybody commenting along. That's why we do the shows live, so we can have the comments section going. Again, that's why we do the show live, so it's for the interactions. Too Evil, we appreciate it. Subscribing to us, even as a Vikings fan, we appreciate that. We want to be, as Wisco fanatics, we want to be respected by our rivals for our realistic and optimistic nature, and for just being able to give respect where it's due. So we appreciate that. Too Evil also asked the question, is Jair still worth having, even with his injuries? We kind of started the show right before the show talking about this. But we're probably going to be thinking pay cut or actual cut this offseason.
Yeah. For me right now, it's a 50-50 flip of whether he'll be back. At best, it's a 50-50 right now that he'll be back. It's probably close with everything that's going on. It's probably moving more towards 75% chance he's not back unless he takes a pay cut.
Yeah.
Which
That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's an out in his contract, and this is something we'll definitely get a little bit more in depth in with the offseason. But we appreciate it. We'll be back next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. We'll recap the Packers-Bears game, and we will preview Packers versus whoever they're going to be facing in the opening week, whether it's Philly or somebody else, depending on what happens this weekend. So thanks again, everybody. Have a safe and happy New Year's, and we will see you guys next Tuesday. For everything else, Jake and I will be back tomorrow to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. So join us for that as well, and we will see you guys next week.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack. Bears still suck.
Naturally.